I just grew up loving every kind of music there was. I just absolutely loved it. I joined a little chorus in junior high school and that kind of thing. And so my sisters eventually moved up here to work in the hospital. So after they had gone away to school and graduated and then moved here, my mother finally decided she wanted to be close to them again. So we moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I was about 13, 14 years old. I'd only been to one concert before I moved here. I rode in the trunk of a car from Cocoa, Florida to Orlando, Florida to hear B.B. King and Jefferson Airplane at this show. So that was really the only exposure I'd had to any kind of live music besides lounge stuff. So when I moved to Memphis, it just completely opened my eyes to live musicians, real music happening in front of me. Well, I just think Memphis at the time, you know, it was early 70s and Stax was still hot, and there were all sorts of musical events. There was live music, as much live music as there is now. There was even more in the early 70s, middle 70s. It just seems like everybody had a prom or a dance or something was going on in Overton Park and Audubon Park all year long. And that's when I started thinking about music in a much more serious light. I got something good waiting inside, gonna make my good man clear my wine. It's soft and sweet, and I'm keeping it warm till the sun goes down and my baby gets home. I'm gonna show him how he can do no wrong, and it just might take all night long to come on, baby, love. Open the door on my house of love. I got a new time. I think having access to all these records, and we had a great stereo system and that kind of stuff, I would, you know, just like all little girls, stand on the coffee table and pretend like I was Diana Ross or the Beatles or who, you know, whatever I was digging at the time. And you know, I spent a lot of time listening to music, but I never made the connection until I got here and realized why it meant so much to me, because it just didn't, it was a childhood thing then. And I really started thinking, you know, people, those people I'm watching, you know, Rufus Thomas and Joyce Cobb and Jimmy Jamison and Rick Christian and all these people around town, people are paying them to do that, you know. And it just started clicking, well, maybe I could do that. I didn't really realize it until I got a guitar for my 16th birthday. My brother-in-law gave me his beautiful Gibson acoustic guitar, because every time I'd go over to his house, I'd fiddle with it, so he finally gave it to me. And I took it home and sat down and taught myself to play to records. Slowly got encouragement through friends at high school and that type of thing. And but until I met my husband, my now husband, Wayne, I hadn't had a band or done any, I did very little work, like maybe some tip work at somebody's apartment or something for a party. And he met me through some friends and said, you know, you're really a good singer. And I've been in bands for years. He'd lived here all his life. And said, I will help you put a band together if you think you're interested in that. So I was shocked. I said, sure. You know, I didn't know what was involved at the time, but he did it. He got some people together, and from the first time we played a gig and somebody came up at the end of the night and handed us money, I said, I think this is what this is what I had in mind. At first it was about pleasing people and making money, and the fastest track to that was to play in top 40, was playing material that people had heard before and knew. And as my band, changed members and, things like that happen over time, then other influences come in. But I'd been listening to Hendrix and Zeppelin and Janis Joplin and all that rock music long before I ever came to Memphis. That was the type of thing that was happening in the late 60s, between 68 and 70, 71. And that's what was really hot and popular, were a lot of those British bands and stuff like that I was heavy into. So when I got in a band and found people who had the same interests, I could go to any sort of genre and find my way, depending on what the band members liked. So you could just bring a list, and I'd be happy to learn those songs and perform them.
Thank you very much.
I was lucky because I got hooked up with really good musicians. So the bands that I had were always top-notch players, and they all had connections. And that's kind of what it took in Memphis. It is a cliquey thing. I mean, in any city where you play. And just for instance, then I had all the work I could possibly want. Today, I feel like I'm a much more successful person. However, it is difficult for me to find a job in Memphis, the kind of job I'm used to or want to work. Because I've done everything from the symphony to, a door gig in this town for 20 years. So the younger people, the fresh meat, in other words, that comes up, really, if they come up and they come up strong, they're going to get the bulk of the work, the best work, in this radius, in this area. But it only lasts so long. Then you've been seen, you've been seen, you've been seen. And that's kind of what helped me to kind of knock myself in the head and say, what are you doing? Because you're not going to be young and pretty. You're not going to be the new thing anymore. You got to really start thinking about where you're headed. And I think when I did that, and I fired everybody, told them I'm stopping this band, this cover thing, and I'm going to go play blues, they all looked at me like I was nuts, But I kind of set out about 1990 is when I said, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to play what I want to play, write my own songs, get with some blues people, and learn this genre. And I'm still not learning. I'm still on my way there. For me, it takes a lifetime to really get good at the blues. You got to live some. I don't think it has any impact on what I do today. I think it has a huge impact on who I am as a person. But musically, I think now I have totally my own voice. I mean, I'm influenced by anything and anybody that I hear musically. It could be an opera, it could be Jimmy Thackeray, from one extreme to the other. It could be Jimi Hendrix. That lights a fire in me, makes me feel something. But at the same time, when I'm sitting down and writing, everything that I write is coming from some heartfelt feeling. I'm not sitting down saying, I'm going to write a song about a guy doing a chick wrong today. It's generally something that's lit a fire under me. Need a Healing, songs like that, and Hard to Live, and things that I write, Moved to Mississippi, all those songs are born out of some sort of angst or something personal that's going on with me, which sometimes is influenced by Memphis and what's going on. Moved to Mississippi is a great example of that. You know, it's my frustration at having played everywhere here, and yet now I can't, you know, it's not like I can't get a job, but I don't necessarily want to work the same jobs that I had previously. So, because it's just the same old thing. There's no inspiration there for me as a musician.
I've done it all I can. Same 100 gigs over and over again. Ask the people, yeah, they know it's true. I can't get no peace in the city of the blues. Gonna move to Mississippi. Nobody gives a damn in Tennessee. Well, I gave my love and my love went dry. All I hear is old under the Memphis sky. Child, I took stock of this life I lead. Baby, it's just time I take my boys and leave. I'm gonna move to Mississippi. Nobody gives a damn about me in Tennessee. I'm gonna move to Mississippi.
I think I'm just a blessed person. Most of the time, most of the reason I can do anything outside of Memphis is just simple contacts, just people that I played for that like me, like the band, and make a good enough impression to tell somebody else and somebody else. I don't have an agent. I'm not signed to anybody for any specific thing, so I can't be calling somebody all the time saying, hey, you know, I don't have a job, find me, you know. So it is difficult, it's extremely difficult, but at the same time, it's great because I get to control how much exposure I do have. And in a way, I don't want too much, because then the more you give away, the less freedom you have. I don't hang every ambition, every emotion, everything on the gig or the, you know, performing or recording or writing. I could do that and be happy if I, you know, if I didn't need the money, you know, who knows whether I would be working hard. But at the same time, you know, it's something in you that you're going to do, and there's an innate joy in just knowing that you can, no matter where you are, anytime, any place, you can make music. And to me, that's the basis of everything as a musician. It's just the knowing. I'm more the type of person that wants to love everybody and have I want to have sex with my band when we're playing, you know? I want to know them, and I want them to know me, and be able to perform my songs the way I want them performed, rather than just having a hired gun come in and fill the date so I can make the money. It's pointless to me. If I'm replacing 2 members of my band, I might as well not come to the gig, because I'm not going to be happy. I'd rather have a band, a core of people who we all kind of have the same thing in mind and like the same thing and work on the same things, and just having a friend, you know. And if I'm falling down that night, Nighthawk or Josh can bring it up, you know, and people can judge you how you're feeling that night in the band. And to me, it's just a communal thing, you know, and I don't want to just have sex with anybody. I want it to be the people I love and want to be around and respect, you know. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. And it took me a long time. I went just the past 2 years ago. I mean, I went through like 4 drummers and a couple of guitar players trying to find the thing. You know, I want to build up to a climax in a song or a set or whatever. And there is just nothing like that feeling when the song ends or the set ends. There's just nothing to replace it. No drug, and it is like making love to somebody you are head over heels with, to me. I mean, that really is the aim every time we go out, is to get off. And it's a selfish thing, but what I have found is if we're doing that and it's happening for us, it's generally happening for the audience as well.
Now everybody in Memphis wants to kick my ass. Ask the people, they know it's true. I'm playing kids on the beach in the city of the blues. Wanna move to Mississippi. I wanna move to Mississippi. Wanna move to Mississippi.
Background singing is one of my absolute favorite things to do, and really, you know, if I get too old to do what I'm doing now, I really hope I can find a great road band that needs a background singer, because I would love to do that too, not even be the front person and just do background vocals. But I started doing jingles here in Memphis, which kind of led me into the studio. And then once I started doing that, a couple other studios were interested in hearing me sing. Another just fluky, lucky thing that I picked it up and could do it pretty rapidly, pretty quick, get the job done and blend with other people. And I think, you know, that goes back to listening to all those records, being in the chorus in school when I was a kid, you know, being able to hear harmony and that kind of thing, having a piano at home, all that sort of stuff helped, I think. But I've done so many, I wish I had kept track of my discography on background vocals, because I'm sure it's up in the, you know, probably 500 by now, you know, in 30 years. So I've done a lot of background singing, and I adore it. Wayne and I were friends in the band for like 4 years. There was no relationship. We were just really good friends, and we had no designs on each other. He may have had designs on me, but at the time it just wasn't an issue. And you know, and we had talked about things like people being together in a band and how hard it was and all that kind of stuff. But after a certain point, I just, you know, saw what a fine human being Wayne is. And I just started thinking to myself, man, I'm missing the boat here, you know. And of course, he kind of didn't want my advances. You know, I think he was a little worried about what might happen musically if we got too involved or whatever, but I was very persistent and finally convinced him, you know, I wasn't going anywhere, and music or no music.
Without your love, I have no place in this world. Without your love, I have no strength. I am weak. Without your love, my heart grows colder. Without your love. without your love. My heart grows colder without your love.
I think a lot of people don't do well because there's a jealousy issue, but we were such good friends before we ever were intimate, you know, or committed to each other, that there just none of that was a part of our relationship. And that's the way it has stayed we've been married 21 years. So yeah, he's just he's just a great person. And it's amazing in this day and age, and even back when he was playing before I ever picked up a guitar, you know, Wayne doesn't smoke or drink or do drugs or cuss. You know, he's like one of the few people, you know, and I'm like give it to me, I'll do it, you know. So it is a very strange type of opposite attract deal, but he's extremely creative guy too. I mean, he's an artist and a songwriter and great bass player, but just a great human being. And I think that, you know, I just think a lot of times that the Lord took care of me in my life, you know, just made the opportunity and made me smart enough to pick up on it and pay attention to it. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I'd be in a band or singing or playing.
Without your love, I have no place in this world. Without your love, I have no strength. I am weak. Without your love, my heart grows colder. Without your love, without your love, without your
I just want to keep making CDs. I just want to keep writing and making CDs as long as people will buy them and they can pay for themselves. I'm not looking to make any money. I just would I love that creative process of the studio and writing, and I love performing. And so if I can just continue on my snail's path here, it would be nice to think that my name would go in with the people that I admire after I'm gone. You know, I mean, that would be nice to think that, you know, Reba Russell was a great singer, you know, that's really it.